everybody. Happy Wednesday. Cheers. I'm actually not in a hotel room this time. I am home for a change. I am really excited. Oh, and the cat's making an appearance, of course, because the minute the camera comes on, he's like, I'm ready. So I'm really excited for today's guest, and I know I say that all the time, but I'm genuinely excited every week for my guest. But this week is an extra cool treat. So Victoria Carl came out to work on the all-female build. I guess it's been a month or so ago now, and I was just so overwhelmed and impressed with her. She's a young woman who has been trained and worked as a diesel technician. She is now a shop owner. She's also a firefighter. I think she rattled off like 14 other things that she does proficiently. And I was like, what else do you do? Like, what do you not do? She's a pretty incredible woman. We've had some great conversations. I'm really excited for you guys to meet her and hear her story and hear from her perspective. So without further ado, I am going to see if I can get her to join in. I saw she sent, she's brand new to Instagram. She joined just for this. So I feel honored. Y'all should feel honored too. Victoria should be joining us any moment. Let's see, I sent the request. So if you can hear me, Miss Thing, Victoria, I just need you to approve the request or request to join if you're not seeing that. Hopefully, we got to be patient with her. She's brand new. You know what I mean? Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I am so jazzed to be hanging out with you.
Me too.
So, everybody, this is Victoria. Victoria, this is everybody. Would you do just a quick introduction? Tell them who you are, what you do, in your own words.
Yeah. So I'm Victoria, obviously. I'm 22 years old. I currently am a shop owner in Voorheesville, New York. It's an automotive repair shop. I am a diesel technician by trade. I got out of that about a year ago. It's been about a year and a half now that I've owned the shop.
So 22 years old. Like, I just want that to sink in with everybody for a second. 22 years old. I thought I was precocious in my 20s and that I was like ahead of the curve being a tech and a shop owner in my late 20s. This woman blew me out, like just absolutely blew me out of the water when she told me she's 22 years old and is as accomplished as she is. And it's no joke, guys. Like she's on top of her ish when it comes to being a shop owner, and her skill is legit. So let's go back in time a little bit. When did you get into working on cars, working on trucks? What was the path to becoming a diesel technician?
Well, I grew up in a automotive family. My grandfather owned a Saab dealership in Voorheesville, like the biggest one in the area, which is pretty cool. So I grew up in a dealership until I was 5 or 6. My dad had a tool truck after that, so I grew up on the tool truck doing summer runs and in the shops talking to the guys, selling wrenches. And then from there, I started racing go-karts when I was 10. So that was kind of like what started it. And then as long as I can remember, we had garages and lifts and things on there, and that's just what we did with that. And then I was in high school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of going by the seat of my pants. I really liked animals. I thought maybe I wanted to be a vet. And then my high school approached us about a BOCES program for 11th and 12th graders, and diesel was an option. And some of my friends were like, I'm going to go into welding and this. I was like, I think I'd like to try diesel. And they were like, you can't do that. Like, what are you talking about? And I told my mom. My mom told me, she's like, you're crazy. Like, whatever. So I did it.
Wait, I got to pause you for a second real quick, because that surprises me. Like, that you had friends that were going into welding and other BOCES programs, and they thought that was normal, but diesel wasn't. So, like, welding. Were these other female friends?
No, they were all guys.
Oh, okay. So
they were like, you can, like, maybe cause or something like that. I was like, no,
gotcha.
We're not going to do that. So that made me want to do it more, of course. So that's what I did, and I excelled. I loved it. I loved the company of the guys, the teachers. I loved the program as a whole. So then I went to University of Northwestern Ohio in Lima, Ohio, to further my career, and I was getting my degrees in agricultural diesel and diesel technology. So I learned how to work on. I actually was inside of a combine. I took out all of that stuff, and that was really cool because we don't really have combines here. So I learned a lot, and I was there for about a year and a half, and I loved it. Again, excelled, and wanted to do that. So when I got out of college, I had countless offers here in Albany, and I got to pick, which was pretty cool. So I chose a place called Albany Truck Sales, which was a Mack and Volvo dealership. So that's where I worked for about a year and a half. And then I was approached by the gentleman who owned the shop previously, and they were like, hey, like they didn't know. My brother worked there when he was younger, sweeping the floors, and my dad sold tools to them. So they didn't really know us any other way. They just knew that we were around and our name. And we were like, it would have been silly to pass up, I think. So then we started to look into it. My mom's like, yeah, sure. Like, let's add that to our plate. And then we started to look into it a little bit more. And it was like, we should do this. So that's what we did.
I love it. There's so much that I want to like dissect in your story,
Okay.
because there's so much there. But I want to talk about that point that you just made about, you know, kind of the career opportunities that were in front of you, that you had so
Mm-hmm.
many job offers. And I think that's something that people don't really realize and see and think for their kids maybe, or as kids don't know how much opportunity there is for a career in the trades in general right now if you go to school and get your education. Like what was that
Absolutely.
like for you?
Um, we had so through high school BOCES, they had job fairs almost like once a month, I think, but they had them really often. And that's actually the place that I ended up going to. The woman who hired me, the HR woman, she got me when I was a junior in high school, and she kept
Wow.
emailing me all through college and everything.
Amazing.
Um, and there was just, and at college they did a bunch of job fairs too, like almost every quarter. And it was just like people were like, oh, cool. Like, we'll move you here. We'll do this. We'll do that. And they were just, and being a business owner, there we are always, always, always looking for technicians and trades, and not even anybody who has a degree necessarily, just somebody who's willing, to has the passion, who wants to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a message we need to beat really loud for people to hear, is how much opportunity there is. Like
Hmm.
even as a woman, right, where we like are used to hearing that we were denied opportunities, or I hear from so many women that they didn't have a chance, nobody wanted to hire them.
Yeah.
You're coming up, you know, you're much younger than I am, but you're coming up at a time where doesn't matter. It almost seems like you had a ton of people banging on your door
Yes.
wanting you, because they need people, and they need good
Hmm.
people, and we need people
Yes.
who care.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as many, there was a lot of them that I was kind of like, they only want me because I'm a girl. But there was a lot of them there was only one or two who was like, I talked to the general manager and I got like a really uneasy feeling, but I was expecting more of that to happen. So I was glad that it was only a few. But the place that I settled with, they genuinely like had a training program and wanted me to grow. And it was really cool.
That's phenomenal. Very
Yeah.
good. So you decided to open or buy a shop. So this was a pre-existing shop that you had, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They had 38 years of business before I took over.
So a long reputation. Was it a good reputation?
Absolutely. They had an
Good.
amazing customer base, an amazing following, and the way that they do things is just incredible.
Nice. Because that's always the question, right? When you're buying a new shop or a shop from somebody pre-existing, like, am I going to have to rebuild the reputation or
Yeah.
yeah. So how long have you had the shop now?
April of 2020, so a little bit over a year.
So you really bought the shop like right as COVID was getting
Yes.
crazy. Was it already in
Yeah.
the works before COVID hit?
It was. And then like as soon as things started to shut down is when I had to get I was finalizing things, and it was horrifying. It was
Yeah.
because we had deadlines that we had to get to, and like the government was shutting down, and with New York you have like so many different certifications and things that you have to do, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. It was terrifying. And I think we pushed our date back because we were supposed to actually take over in February. So we had to push back for a few months to try to get everything taken care of. But I think we got it early enough that we were able to sneak through, but it was
Wow.
close.
What an
Yeah.
insane time to be becoming a shop owner for the first
Yes,
time.
absolutely. Yes.
So, I mean, there's probably so much there to talk about. What was it like? I mean, COVID or aside, I guess, but maybe COVID too. Like, what was that transition like for you, going from being a technician, turning wrenches, being the one kind of doing the do, to transitioning to being the leader, the shop manager, the shop owner?
Yeah. So I'm still learning that. I have barely been an employee, let alone an employer. So it was definitely a learning curve. And in the beginning, I had some older technicians and employees who weren't necessarily the happiest, and they weren't super excited about the change. But once we got through that, and I started to. So my mom and my dad are very, very involved, and they were part of the dealership. So they have that knowledge that I don't have, as far as the professionalism and how things like how to talk to your employees and that kind of stuff. And that is very helpful because I don't know if I could do it without them because there's so many legalities of everything that you don't have to deal with when you're a technician.
Right.
And you have that like face, you have to talk to your customers, and you have to be that person, the face of the business, which I never had to be before. Um, so that was a huge learning curve. But once we started to get through all of that, I created an amazing team of young people. Everybody except for my shop foreman is under 30. And we decided to grow our own because that was kind of the culture that we wanted. And we wanted them. My mom says it all the time and I laugh at her, but I want somebody to call me and say, I can't come in. My wife has to watch the baby or something like that. And be like, bring it in. We'll take care of it. Like I wanted to be that kind of family place.
Right.
And I think we're getting there. It's definitely taken a lot of work and it's a huge change, but we're getting through it.
I love it. And I love that there's a little bit of a family element that you guys are really that your parents are supporting and helping you
Yeah.
in any way that they can. I think it's interesting you said that you couldn't do it without them. And I'm sure that is very much the case. However, hearing you speak and hearing your mindset on how to run a business, I have no doubt that you would still be able to do it.
Thank you.
You got your stuff together. You said something earlier about kind of once you got over that the issues with some of the older techs who weren't happy about you taking over.
Mhm.
I'm sure that other people have experienced that. If there are folks out there who are either in leadership positions or owners or managers who are maybe younger than their employees, how did you handle that? And by getting beyond that, was that getting rid of the bad seeds, or was that actually gaining respect? And how'd that work out?
It was a little bit of both. I had to gain a lot of respect from a lot of people. But I think once that's gained, we're good. But there was a lot that we had to weed them out. Just a few, and they weren't, it was just one of those things that I was like, and I was amazed that that's how people think because I've never even like why would anybody do that? But it's a lot of dotting your I's and crossing your T's and just making sure you're doing everything right and everything in my power. And I tried really, really hard to not come in and be a bull in a china shop and not, because I understood that they've been doing the same thing for 38 years and that they don't like to necessarily adjust in their ways. So I tried really, really hard to just adjust things subtly so that I didn't come across as, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just going to take over. So, and even that didn't really seem to matter. But I came to realize like, you can't please everybody, and that's fine because there's better ones out there waiting to come work for you.
Absolutely. It's a great mindset.
Yes.
What were some of the changes that you made in the business, kind of bringing it, because you've got a really refreshing attitude around what a shop can look like, what a shop culture can look like. What were some of those changes that you made, and what are you trying to accomplish with this shop? You mentioned a little bit about it, but
Yeah, so the shop that they had was immaculately clean. There was nothing wrong with it. But there was a decent amount of clutter and just old stuff that, oh, well, maybe we'll need that someday. So we started with all of that. Um, and then everything that they did was paper. So they had like a big paper desk calendar. That's where all the schedules, appointments were made. And they had a lot of everything was like that. And all of the paperwork orders and things were getting lost and shuffled. And it just didn't really make any sense to me. But both of the owners were a little bit older, and that's just how they'd been doing things forever. So they didn't really see like, oh, I could be doing it this way. So eventually we got rid of the paper schedule. We went completely digital. And then a few months after that, we decided to which was only like a month or two ago, we decided to get rid of all of the paper ROs, which was a huge, huge, huge change. And before that, actually, we implemented digital inspections. So all of my technicians now have tablets, and every time a car comes in, I think we're up to like 64 points. They check everything over, and they can have the ability to take pictures, take videos. They make comments and notes and recommendations on everything. And that actually gets sent right to my customers in a text message as a link, so they can see everything. And I had a hard time selling things because they were like, well, I don't need a cabin air filter. People don't really understand the significance of that. So when they see it, they can't argue with you. And that was a huge, huge thing. And people started to love that. And it actually brought in a huge amount of new customers, younger customers like myself, and younger women too, who didn't necessarily trust like Mavis's or Jiffy Lubes or places like that. So that was very helpful. And then what else did we do? So then we changed everything. So we have no paper as of now, other than parts receipts.
Awesome.
Everything is all digital, which
nice.
is overwhelming some days, but we get it done. I think that for the most part, those are the big things that we did.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
do you have some of your technicians still that were with the company previously, or is it a whole new group of employees?
So my shop foreman is actually one of the previous owners. He kind of runs the logistical side of things. He's a little bit more, obviously a lot more technical than I am, because he's been doing it his whole life. So he has those, oh, well, you could do it this way, and those kind of tips and tricks that helps everybody. And he does all of that. And one of my B-Techs, he's from them as well. So he's been with them for about 3 years. So he's
nice. So how did they feel about all these changes? Are they liking it now that it's in place, or?
Yes, yep. I think my shop foreman was a little bit harder because he's in his 60s and he has a hard time sending text messages. So all of this new stuff was very difficult. But he's been very good, better than I anticipated. And we make sure everything is written out and SOPs are clear so that he can just read through the paper and do everything that he needs to do that way. And then the younger guy, he had no problem because he was kind of like, I don't know why they haven't been doing this for a while. So he's been okay.
That's awesome. I know a lot of folks who watch these, and a lot of folks write into me often about wanting to start their own business and not really like necessarily knowing where to start or what all's involved and things that they should be aware of. You just mentioned a phrase, SOPs. Not everybody may know what that is. Tell me about what SOPs are and why that whole thing is so important to you and what you do with SOPs.
So there's standard operating procedures, and I have a standard operating procedure on how to open the door in the morning. From that to how to close the door at night. It's everything that you need to know throughout the day, or anything, how to answer the phone, all the steps of that. I even have SOPs for my technicians on oil changes, and all of the brake services that we do, just so that you're getting everybody to do the same thing the same way. And it's how you want to run your business. And it's very, very helpful because I can give somebody a binder and say, here, read this, and then we'll talk. So then they kind of have a general idea. And it's also helpful. When I left and I came to you for a week, my father and my brother read my SOPs like it was a Bible. So that's really important too, because if I have an emergency and I can't be there or something like that, there's no guessing because it's all there and everybody knows how things go, and it's very helpful all the way around.
Yeah, when you started talking about that, I was like, oh my God, this girl is going to go so far in her life, because that is, I feel like that's the number one mistake that people make, that, you know, myself included, when I first started my shop, which is like you're light years ahead of where I was, is I own a job, right? Like so many people
Mm-hmm.
don't own a business, they own a job because the place won't function without them. And having that standard operating procedure Bible in place, right? It's like the playbook, right? You may know how to
Yeah.
play football, but until you go to that team and learn their playbook and their plays, you don't necessarily know how it operates in that facility, right? Um,
Yes.
it's a game changer because you're a
Mm-hmm.
new business owner and you were able to leave for a week
Yes.
and the place didn't blow up,
Nerve-wrackingly. Yes. It
right?
was still standing when I got home.
And no like fires to put out, no angry
No,
customers to
that's
deal with.
no.
So anybody out there wanting to start a business, like listen to this woman, standard operating procedures, write a book of all of the things so that you own a business, not a job. And
Yes.
then you actually get the freedom that I think people, you know, think being a business owner is going to give them. You have to do it very intentionally, and you've done
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Where,
And then
go ahead, sorry.
it's also really important as you grow and change things to go back and make sure everything is the right way as well, because I've had that as all the things that were changing. I'm like, oh, every like month or so I go back and just make sure everything's right and that we're like going on with how we're going.
I love it. I love it. Now, did you just like, are you just this smart naturally? You just know all of this, or how did you learn so quickly how to be an amazing, progressive, on top of it shop owner?
Um, that's a tough one. I don't really know.
She's like, I'm just a genius. What can I say?
I'm part of ATI, which is a automotive training institute. They're like, I think, worldwide, and they have been a huge, huge help as well. My parents have also been a huge help just because of all of their experience. But ATI is nice because it's like a third party, unbiased place, and they also go with SOPs as well. So this is how you do this and this, as far as on my end of things, which has been very helpful because I didn't take any business management classes, or I think I took 6 weeks of it in college, but I was like, I'm never going to do that. I don't need this. So it's all just been kind of going with the flow and learning as we go.
That's awesome. So you didn't think that this was something you wanted, huh? When you were younger?
No,
Younger. She's
no,
only
I
22.
was,
She's still young.
I was like, well, maybe someday, like when I'm ready to retire, and I just wanted to like, but I never ever thought that this was going to happen as soon as it did, but I'm glad that it did.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I love it. So ATI, so what are your thoughts for folks out there on, you know, if you are starting a business, thinking about starting an auto repair shop, do you recommend joining groups like that or being a part of learning opportunities like that?
Absolutely. Because they give you all the tools that you need that you don't necessarily know to begin with. And they also are huge on, which I feel a lot of business owners aren't in the beginning, on like their numbers and what this means and what gross profit means and all. I didn't know. And I still struggle with it sometimes. I have like a cheat sheet. But they're
Nothing wrong with
very,
that.
and you have like I have a system that I input all of my weekly numbers in, and they watch it with you and explain to you what everything means. And it's just very helpful all the way around. And they have training courses whenever you want to go for marketing, advertising, management, and they have tech classes as well. So it's just, I think it's very beneficial to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't that, by no means is this to take away from you and your intelligence and like how on top of it you are. But I can't underemphasize and not like overemphasize enough the value of these training programs, whether it's ATI or WorldPack, or there's a gazillion of them, management success. Like I can't even like think of them all off the top of my head, but there's a ton of programs where you can learn the stuff that you don't know. And I think that's the other big mistake that people make going into business for themselves. Like, oh, I know how to be a technician, therefore I can be a shop owner, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were the things that
part of, oh, sorry.
no,
A bigger
no,
part of that is like being able to admit that you don't know and be okay with wanting to learn, because that's huge as well. Because I was kind of like, oh no, we'll be okay, and I was like, no, I need some help because I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah.
What were the biggest surprises that you found as a business owner that maybe you were like, I didn't know that this was going to be like this, or that I was going to need to know this? Like, what things surprised you coming from being a technician and now being on the other side of things?
I In the place that I was kind of like, I don't know why things go this way. And then I started to understand that you can't really predict where things go most days. They just kind of go. And all of like the legal things that I was like, people have to deal with this, and like the disability insurance and liability insurance and all of the different steps that you have to do absolutely everything is just like, oh my goodness. And it's just, you have to have this to do this and do this and do this. And that was mind blowing to me, because that's a lot of work.
Yes, indeed. So from former tech turned shop owner, what are your words of advice to technicians that are out there that are either, happily working in a shop or think they'd like to become a technician? Like or become a technician, become a shop owner. Like what should technicians know and understand about what the rest of the business looks like, to either enjoy their jobs more or to make that transition like you did?
My biggest thing is, I've been thinking, I was like, every technician that I hire, I feel like they should spend a week in the office just so that they understand what I deal with all day, and that I'm not just harping on you. Like, I have people harping on me, and it's not just me. There's everything else. I just wish that they understood that a little bit more. But I also think that I've been working a lot with kids from local dealerships, and I've been able to hire a few of them recently, which is nice. But I feel like a lot of them are also overworked and not appreciated in those kind of places. So I think that if somebody is a really good technician and has the passion, and you don't feel like you're appreciated, go find somebody who will appreciate you, because they're definitely out there, and we definitely want you to come work for us.
Yeah. So any technicians what part of the country are you in right now? Where's your shop?
Albany, New York. Please call us.
There are good places who are hiring. You just got to find them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing because there's a balance, right? Like there are shops where you are valued and appreciated, and then there are definitely shops and sometimes there's good dealerships, there's bad dealerships. I don't want to say all dealerships, but
yeah.
There are places where you're valued and there's places where you aren't. And so there's sometimes like a fine line between, am I in a shop that truly doesn't value me, or do I just not have a full vision of what else is going on? Because I think sometimes, like, everybody in the business, whatever business it is, thinks they're the only ones doing all the work and everybody else is just hanging out.
Yeah. I agree.
So, little bit of a fine line there.
Yeah.
So a technician who might want to become a shop owner, what's your advice to them?
Definitely, just the passion has to be there, and then I think you can make anything work from there. If that's what you want to do it. And like you said a few times, like, just because you're a technician, you have to understand that you might need help, that you don't know exactly what's going on, because there's a lot of things up in the front end that you could never predict, and you never know, like, that's what you needed to do. So get educated, go to school, figure out, get your ducks in a row, and then if the passion is there, everything else will fall in line.
I love that. How about your customers? You took over a shop, so you inherited a number of customers, and I know you've said that you've done a lot to attract a new and additional demographic. Did you have any issues, either just as a new owner, period, or as a young woman? Were there ever any issues that kind of came out of that with the past client base?
So Kirby, I'll use his name, is my shop foreman. So he was there for 38 years, and he was kind of the face of it. So there was a lot of customers who would walk in and they're like, I want to talk to Kirby. And that was fine. I let that happen at first, because that was part of the reason why he stayed on for so long, is because he was a familiar face, and we wanted him to have his customers and introduce them slowly to me. But once I started to kind of know what I like, prove what I was, and know what I was talking about, I started to get a lot of those people and introduced myself and told my story, and my story's on the wall, and we have writings, and I put myself in our local newspaper, and we had like a big debut. So like a lot of the questions and everything people would know first before they came. But there's still, to this day, it's been over a year, I still have a handful of customers who won't talk to me. They have to see Kirby. And they're usually older women who they just trust Kirby. That's fine. I get it.
I did not expect you to say that. I did not expect you to say it was older women. Huh.
Yeah. And there is a handful of guys, I call them the boys club. They have like classic cars and stuff. And I think everybody likes to think that they have a guy. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go see my guy. Like, and that was kind of what I was running into a lot. So I had to make myself be their guy. And once I got in there, we're good. And there's a lot of people who won't talk to anybody other than me, which is also really cool to see as well. My dad will hand the phone to me. He's like, you got to talk to her. She won't even say hi to me. So that's pretty cool to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is definitely that transitional phase, and people, once they start to get me, and we're in a small town, so it's pretty, word goes around. So everybody really knows me, whether they come to me or not. But it goes both ways.
How did you handle it? Like, I feel like I hear this a lot from folks in general taking over a business or stepping into a leadership role or a management role, that they don't necessarily get the respect right off the bat. And I think women, particularly in a very male-dominated field, often get kind of that a little harsher. How did you handle it with the customers? What was your approach?
I was the forefront. I wanted to wrench. I still want to wrench, but I put myself in the front office. I answer the phones every day. I talk to the customers every day. I put myself in the front to make myself known, introduce myself to everybody. Handshakes go a long way. And I just had to kind of know, like, be confident. I had to be confident. And that really also goes a long way. And know what I'm talking about. And even if I didn't, you still be confident, because that really, people appreciate that. And that was how we did that. And that's the best I got.
No, I love that. Did you ever have any situations that left you feeling frustrated, or like that you just weren't getting through to people, or in specific people?
Yeah, there's always going to be those, and I take it personally. I'm just that kind of person. And I just get mad, and I'm like, and they won't talk to me, and they're just like, no, get me somebody who knows what they're talking about, or get me a guy, get me one of the guys. And that, I hate that. But I just have to learn, and my mom preaches this all the time. Like, you are doing the best that you can, and there's some people who just don't get it, and that's okay. They don't have to get it. They don't have to come back to, like, we also, ATI has a saying, fire your customers. If there's somebody who like that, like, you don't need them. You don't need that frustration in your life. So it took me a while to realize that, and I still get upset sometimes, but I just have to, I did everything that I needed to do, and they just didn't, there was no convincing them. So that was a learning curve as well, but it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you can fire your customers, and that's something that I love that phrase. We don't hear it often, and there's like caveat to that is there's like a gentle, loving way where you can fire your customers that doesn't also then ruin your Yelp review scores and all of that, because you don't want to like piss a customer off and have them go, running away mad. But you can, with love,
respectfully,
fire a customer if they're not the right customer for you, and it's okay, right? No, I think that's really a very valid point. So, okay, so shop owner, technician, and now in addition to this, you also are a firefighter?
Yes, a volunteer firefighter. I have been since the day I turned 16. Yeah.
Where did you come from? Are you actually like an android? How do you have time for all of this?
I don't really. That's okay.
I'm just so impressed with you. Like you do so much and you're so on top of it and you seem to have it so together. Um, what's the dark secret that we don't know? Like, is there like, are you actually this confident and this self assured and like this amazing? Like, or do you have insecurities like the rest of us human beings?
Yeah, they're there.
What is your biggest fear that you deal with?
Um, my biggest fear is, so my employees aren't only my employees. I kind of take it, I feed their families. I put their babies through dance class. I put food on their table. So my biggest fear is that not happening. Like I don't think it would ever happen, but I worry about that all the time because they're part of my family, and I just never want to put them in that position. So I work every day and try really, really hard to keep them happy and keep their families happy.
I love it. That's fantastic. Biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your career?
Um, I think I went into this career thinking that I was going to have a lot of challenges. Everybody prepared me. My mom was like, you're not going to college. You're not doing that. Because I packed up and I went 12 hours away. And she was like, no, you're not. No. So, and she was like, you have to, and even there, my dad, my brother, all of my friends, they were like, you have to, like, people are going to look at you funny. People aren't going to treat you the same way. You have to be ready to sit alone in the classroom. And that was like huge for me. And I was so worried about that. I still get worried about that. But I have to say that I haven't experienced that. I've been very gracious and lucky. I haven't had too many challenges in that respect of things. I've had great mentors, great employers, all my teachers, all of my classmates. Everybody was really, really accepting of me, more so than I had ever anticipated. And that I was like, why don't like, and that I feel like that's a thing for a lot of women in my position and younger girls, and that might be why people are holding back from that kind of thing. And don't, because if you're there for the right reason and you're doing what you want to do, everybody will respect you. And if they don't, it doesn't matter because you're doing what you want to do.
Cheers to that. Very well
Yes.
said. 100%. That's great to
Yes.
hear. And, you know, I wonder if there's like some regional differences or just if it really truly is the attitude that you walk in with or that,
Yeah.
you know, one walks in with, because I hear it's a mixed bag. You know, when I was going to school, it was very different.
Hmm.
And I hear some younger women your age saying that they've had phenomenal experiences and haven't faced a whole lot of challenges as women. And then on the other side, a lot of young women saying that they're still facing the same thing. So
Yeah.
I'm glad for you that you had such an awesome experience.
Yeah. And there's always a few. I had, like I said before, a few interviews and a few people who would just look at you different. And it's like, my mom always says, she said when I was younger, and this is kind of funny, she always said, chin up, boobs out. Walk your walk, do your thing, and believe in yourself, because that's all that really matters. He still says that to me every day.
I love that. I'm sorry.
I gotta get a poster made.
Chin up, boobs out, walk your walk. I love it. Your mom sounds really cool.
She is.
Also, like, serious props to your parents for being so supportive of you throughout this. Like, they definitely gave you some warnings and some fears they
Yeah.
had for you going off to school, but at the end of the day, they supported you.
Absolutely. And my little brother, he's 19. He actually just joined us from a dealership, and he opened. I opened, but he is in charge of our detail center. So we rented another building, and they. So he
right,
does
something
all
else
that.
she does. She also has a detail shop. Forgot to tell you guys.
And they're so extremely supportive of him and of us, and it's just absolutely amazing. And my dad, is a Bosch salesman, so he sells like diagnostic equipment and he travels a lot. But COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise because he was able to stay. And one of those bad seeds that I had to weed out was one of my main technicians, and he left and I was kind of stranded. And my dad was there every day at 6:30 in the morning wrenching, and that was huge. That was huge. I don't know what I would have done without him. So that was really cool. And my mom was right there as well. She's not too technical, but she does all of the stuff like nobody else knows how to do, like the accounting and all of that stuff, which is huge because I don't know how to do it. So that's awesome.
I love it. And the moral to that story is like, even if it isn't your parents that are able to be those people, like you need a support system. Like nobody does this alone. No, whether you're 22 or 52, nobody does this alone.
Yes. And it's so important to realize when you need help as well. I struggle with that, and I get really stressed and a little bit worked up. And my mom's like, you have to use your words and tell me what you need. And that's huge for anybody in any situation. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help because there's always somebody there.
Absolutely. I love this. Couple of the comments coming through. There's no way she's only 22.
That's funny.
I agree. I think she's lying to us, and she's actually in her 40s. She just looks phenomenal for her age. I was going to ask you a question, and then I lost it. You were talking about, so do you miss wrenching?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. So the shop that I'm in now is only automotive, like pretty much. I don't say no to anything, so we do anything from log splitters to mopeds and everything like that. But all my techs are primarily automotive techs. They're willing to try. They change oil and diesels and that kind of stuff. But other than that, it's kind of out of their realm. So I started doing a lot of that at nights and on the weekends. I bought one myself so I could work on it because I missed it. And my grandpa, I work on his all the time. And today I got to go in the shop a little bit and do some of that. And it's hard because there's like the phone is ringing and I'm trying to do a bunch of things at once, but I miss it a lot. But hopefully we'll get back into it soon.
All right. I'm always curious about it. I know I missed it quite a bit when I had the shop, and it's hard to balance all of that because you can't do everything, at least not all at the same time. I mean, you're making it look like one can do everything, but so do you have any like personal time, or is it all work all the time?
Not much. I guess so. The shop is only open Monday through Thursday, so it's 4 days.
Nice.
It is nice. I work 12, 13, 14-hour days, so they're long days, but Fridays is when I do a lot of my office stuff and advertising and all of that kind of stuff. And then usually I'm working on my own cars on Saturdays and Sundays, so I don't get too much.
Is that a change that you made with the shop, or was it always like that?
That's how they always had it. They did that 15 years before I did it, or before I took over. And they had a huge success with it because they had younger kids and they felt like they never got to see anybody. And so they decided to do that. And it's not only has it been beneficial to us, like personally, but as a hiring technique, it's huge too, because people are like, you can do that. And it makes it, Mondays are rough and Thursdays are rough, but it's just longer days and you just have to be a little bit more strategic about things. But they train their customers really good to know Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays we don't call the shop. So I haven't had too much of an issue with that. And if there's something like a dire need, my techs have no problem going in Fridays to finish something or do something like that. But that doesn't happen too often.
That's phenomenal. I think that's a very progressive thing that they did back when. How and the customers feel, and they're good with this? Like,
yes, most of them are. Some of them. But I try to be really, really flexible, too. If somebody calls me Thursday morning and says, my daughter's going to college on Saturday, and can you work on it on Friday? And I try really hard to squeeze people in. And we always leave room for emergencies because there's always emergencies. And most of them are very accepting. And they're like, oh, I'm jealous. I want a 4-day work week. So
right. We got a lot of pushback when we first went to no weekends at all. And,
Mhm.
I found it was, as long as you made accommodations with people and made sure that they were taken care of and had a vehicle to drive and, whatever
Yeah.
that the scenario was. But going to 4 days a week and long days, I think is
Hmm.
just genius. And you're right, it gives you the edge with employees being able to
Yeah.
say, hey, look at this, 4 day weeks. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
And it's also beneficial because people like myself who work so late, I can't ever do anything like make appointments or anything like that. So people who do have a longer work day, I get a lot of those customers because I will make them appointments for 5 o'clock, 4:30, and there's not a lot of places that do that. So that's also very appreciated by everybody as well.
So how late are you open at night?
6.
Okay. So that's not even that crazy late.
No, no, it's not.
That's phenomenal. I dig it.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to open up a shop in Phoenix,
I'm down.
you've got a great attitude. So, what are your plans? What's next for you? What other businesses are you opening up? What other part of the world are you taking over?
Um, well, when I got back from Arizona, there was talk of buying an ice cream shop, so that was interesting. But we we never say no to everything.
I'm
And
noticing a
my mom,
trend. Yes, I'm.
my mom says all the time, our plan is so fluid, which I love that term because we'll think we're going in this direction, and then something happens, and we have to go this way, and that's fine. But we just like I want to have an empire someday. That's like my plan. I
I love it.
we just got in with the detailing center, and he got certified to be a ceramic coater this
Oh,
weekend.
nice. Okay.
So he's going into that end of things, which is really cool, and I hope that brings him great places. And he wants to get into more high performance stuff like exhausts and all of that because that's where his passion is, young kid kind of stuff. And then I would like to go into the diesel world a little bit more because that's where my passion is. But I'm willing to do absolutely anything. You can
Love it.
try it.
I love it. I don't like I don't even I can't with you. You're like so inspiring and so amazing and incredible. I just cannot wait to see what the future holds for you and what else
Thank
you're
you.
gonna take over. You already have an empire, so I can only imagine where it's gonna go from here. And I like part of me wants to ask this question, and I don't necessarily know how to phrase it. Like, where does this is this from your parents? Is this from how you were raised? Is this like something you were born with, like um this go-getter confidence, this amazing attitude that you have? Like, where does that drive come from in you? Do you know?
I want to say it has everything to do with my mom. She's the same way, and my dad is also the same way, but it's a little bit different just because of he's a guy and that's just how they are. But my mom is a very independent, strong woman, and that's also inspiring to me because I'm like, wow, and then to put up with us and the things that we do, and that's just amazing. So I would give her the credit for that.
All right, fair. So I'm sure that there are plenty out there who are going to either are watching right now or are going to watch this and hear your story, and are inspired by it and want to follow in your footsteps in one way or another. What are your like top words of advice for folks out there who are hearing you and saying, I wanna do that too, whether it's the being a tech, whether it's being a shop owner. What's your advice?
Do it. Um, I said it a few times, but passion is absolutely huge. And I feel like a lot of times in this world, there is like, well, people are kind of watching, and that's not normal. And I don't. That doesn't matter. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Nobody really cares. As long as you are happy and you're doing what you want to do at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And as you put your head on the pillow and you sleep at night and you're happy, then you wake up and you want to go to work, then you're doing what you love, and that's the most important part.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. um, what else do you do that we haven't talked about yet? I feel like we covered,
We do powder coating.
of course. Are you doing powder coating too, or you've got people doing it for you?
I'm learning how to do it, but it's mostly my dad who does
Okay.
most of it.
I want to learn how to powder coat. I think that would be a lot of fun.
It's cool. It's amazing the way that it works. There's so much science to it that you would never anticipate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could add one more element to your business at this point, what might it be? What's
I
on
would
the wish
definitely
list?
I would definitely like to have like a primarily diesel technician,
Okay.
and a diesel side of things, that just because there's a huge market for it in this area. Not a lot of people do like light duty stuff, and I would love to do that, but I don't have really the space or the lifts to do that, or the people other than myself. So that's on the wish list.
Yet. You don't have the space yet.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's coming soon.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you just joined Instagram for this. So I can't even like send people over to your Instagram to show your shop some love. Where can people find your shop? Do you do Facebook?
Yes. Yep, we do Facebook. It's Carl's Advanced Automotive. It's a minion. It's our air compressor that we painted as a minion on the profile picture. And I'm going to start using Instagram. I'm not going to delete it after this. I'll be on here and start. You got me.
Yes, we've converted you.
Yes. So they can, and I had, even when you posted in the beginning, I had a bunch of followers, which is really appreciated. And there will be more on there. We'll start doing it.
Awesome. All right. So right now her profile doesn't have a whole lot going on it, but go give Carl's Advanced Auto.
Yep, it's Carl's Advanced Auto.
Okay. Go give Carl's Advanced Auto some love, show her some support, find her on Facebook as well. And yeah, I'm so impressed with you. I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on to Happy Hour and share your story with everybody and share your passion with everybody. And I hope that some folks listening get a little bit of inspiration, motivation from you. I know I do. I've done a lot of the things that you are doing, and yet I am still finding myself inspired and motivated by talking to you. So you've got a very, very bright future ahead of you. I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity to meet you and work with you.
Thank you. Me too. And just to add, when I went and worked with you, I realized on the way home, I've never worked with women before. That was the first time. And it was amazing. It was so different, and it was refreshing. And I brought that back, and I kind of changed the way I did things a little bit. And that was really cool.
Okay, now I'm curious. So in what way did you find it was different, and what changes did you make? I'm curious.
There was more brains and less brawn, which is, I see that all the time, and it's just kind of annoying sometimes. And everybody was very supportive of each other, where I have a lot of instances where, oh, let me do it. Like, and that's my biggest pet peeve. I hate that. But it was really cool. And you guys thought differently, and you used all of the tools that you had for a reason. And there was no like, nah, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to learn how to do that. And that was so cool. That was really inspiring to me, because there's a lot of times where I find myself, well, I'm just going to wait till he comes back because he needs to help me. And I found myself recently just, whatever, Bogey did it, I'll do it. So that was really cool.
That's all. Everything is figure outable. Right?
Yeah, then you can fix just about anything if you break it, but it doesn't matter.
Yep, that's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Yeah. I dig it. Very nice. All right, my dear. Well, I am going to bid everybody adieu. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. It will be living on my IGTV permanently. So if you want to rewind and listen to any of that again, it is there along with all of the other past happy hours that we've done. So definitely go check them out. Come back next week for another awesome guest for Trades Lady Happy Hour. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. Be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and make sure you go show this woman some support and some love. And Victoria, thank you for joining, and keep on kicking butt and being amazing. I'm excited to see where your career takes you.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely. All right, bye guys, take care.